Chipped ham and football. That's what Pittsburgh does. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Brian Batko here for you, as always, to talk some Steelers. Sometimes we're a morning show. Sometimes we're an afternoon show. Sometimes, like tonight, we're an evening show. So we're going to recap kind of these first 2 days of NFL free agency. Steelers didn't do much today on Tuesday, but this is the time of year where things are very fluid. News can happen at any time. Could break while we're talking. Could be a Steelers player being retained. Could be the Steelers signing somebody new. And we've been breaking it down for the first 48 hours here and change, if you count Sunday evening with the DK Metcalf trade at the Post-Gazette's YouTube channel. Chris Carter and Ray Fittipaldo, I believe they'll be back with you guys Wednesday morning. It might be all talked out for the moment. So I'm going to bring on a different guest, different voice, Austin Bechtold, one of our friends from over at 93.7 The Fan, producer of the Start Pomp Joe and Pomp show, formerly the Ron Cook and Joe Starkey show from 10 to 2. They do a great job in Austin. Working in live radio, has been very much up on all the comings and goings from Pittsburgh and around the league in the NFL. So we'll kind of talk through some things with him, as always, brought to you by Pella. No better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than from Pella. They can help you save on energy costs year-round. Schedule your free in-home consultation with your local Pella windows and doors to find the right product for your home and your budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss that project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started on planning your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. Here he is, Austin Bechtold, over from 93.7 The Fan, a man of many nicknames, with our mutual coworker, Joe Starkey. How's it going, Austin?
Going pretty good, Brian. Yeah, good to be with you. I've kind of lost track at this point, but City Limits, the main one, is probably where everybody would most recognize me from.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I feel like those nicknames, while they may get annoying to you at times, they have given you a nice niche in the Pittsburgh media market, and probably a lot of aunts and grandmas who drive around listening to the radio know you by such monikers.
Yeah, no doubt. It's City Limits, Limits. I've heard Mr. P. I've heard Wonder Twin. I've heard Bread. So I'm hoping that some people, Brian, recognize me as Austin because it's obviously my name. But there's no doubt that, City Limits has taken me some places too, which that's how people know me and remember me. That's completely fine by me.
I know you as Austin, and Mr. Starkey has taken you places too. He's taken your voice on the radio a lot more lately, and I know you guys have been, much like us here at the Post-Gazette, breaking down Steelers free agency from all angles. I don't think the NFL really likes to call it the legal tampering period anymore, even though that's what we all know it as. So, I mean, the first 2 days, the negotiating period, have basically come and gone. Now it's 8:30 as we're talking here Tuesday evening on this show, and things could happen at any moment. And I'll have that up on one screen. I've got Robert Morris, Youngstown State up on another screen here. So I'm keeping an eye on that as the Colonials try to play for a spot in the NCAA tournament. But I'll just ask you, from these first 2 days, and starting at 4 o'clock Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, these deals can be made officially and announced, and you might get a flood of moves then. But what's kind of your biggest takeaway Steelers-wise? Is it the fact that there is still no quarterback resolution? They trade for DK Metcalf, but it's kind of like buying a Ferrari and having really nowhere to park it just yet.
Isn't it crazy that the biggest offensive transaction that the Steelers have maybe ever made outside of Jerome Bettis in terms of like a free agent or a trade, we're barely talking about it this week?
Yeah, it feels like it happened 2 weeks ago, and it feels not irrelevant, but not nearly as relevant as what's going to happen under center.
Well, that's just because of the magnitude of the position and being the most important position in all of sports. And a part of that is just how polarizing Aaron Rodgers is. Like, if Aaron Rodgers comes here, and I've really softened on my stance because I wanted Justin Fields. I thought he would return. Kind of surprised to see him celebrating in Dubai with a 2-year, $40 million deal with the Jets instead of the Steelers. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers could come in here and really, Brian, be a boomer bust type of guy. Like, I could see him coming in with Metcalf if they keep Pickens, another wide receiver they draft, maybe winning a playoff game, which has been the bugaboo the last 8 years. Or it turns out like New York, they fall flat on their face late in the season and it becomes, instead of the microcosm of the last 5 games, more so of a 17-game sample and have a chance to draft a quarterback high next year. So I know that's a long way to answer the question, but quarterbacks for sure. And I'm okay with Rodgers from that perspective. I don't want to see Russell Wilson back. Do you?
No, I think that would be that would be even a more untenable situation. I guess he and Arthur Smith could kind of grit their teeth, and if they have to try to improve that working relationship, I don't know that there is any improving it, but as far as selling it to the public, Russell Wilson's always going to put a good face on things. Arthur Smith talks to the media for, once a week in season for about 10 minutes. I guess he could restrain himself from saying anything that really throws his quarterback under the bus, but I just didn't think there was any path forward with those two. And yet, if Aaron Rodgers decides that he wants to go to the Giants, which I'm not really sure why he would want to go to the Giants, they're kind of the laughing stock of that division out there. Then yeah, I mean, our Jerry Dulac most recently reported that potentially the fallback option is Russ, but man, that would be quite the fall. And I'm Ray Fittipaldo, who is going to be on, I think again Wednesday morning with Chris Carter on our North Shore Drive show. I know he wasn't real bullish on giving Fields the 2 for $40 million that the Jets did. I would have done it simply because, I think he could still put it together. And now the Steelers are sitting here in a situation where they're hoping Aaron Rodgers chooses them in the year 2025. It's very bizarre.
We had Rich Cimini on the show on Tuesday, the ESPN reporter for the Jets. And the two main reasons that he thought that Rodgers would potentially pick the Giants were, one, he just built like a brand new house in New Jersey, or at least bought a house and put a lot of work into it. And maybe he wants to stay home. Like that's a real thing. I think sometimes we forget, that they're still human beings, even though so much money is made and
Especially
everything.
Rodgers, though, I thought he would like live in a yurt or something, and that maybe he would just be building his house out of sticks and glue. But
A year-long darkness retreat.
Yeah. Or, like digging a hole in the ground and living there for a while.
Or another thing that Rich pointed out is, what if Rodgers wants to stick it to the Jets in his own stadium, in their own stadium, like it's not a good enough situation as the Steelers. Like you can argue how well of a situation that the Steelers are right now too. But comparatively speaking to the Giants with Brian Dable and that management group currently, I mean, they're on the outs if they're 1-5, maybe even in the first 6 weeks. That would not be the best situation in terms of stability either.
No, I mean, he already got, he already went through last year when Robert Saleh gets fired from the Jets. So that, I mean, yeah, I was drinking the Rodgers Kool-Aid a couple years ago, thinking he's going to be more motivated than ever to stick it to the Packers. And, well, he tore his Achilles, so that's kind of out of his control. But it didn't really come together last year either. I suppose you could argue it's for factors that go beyond just him. The Jets also seem like something of a cursed franchise, but he could play them next season with the Steelers. They are on the schedule, so he could really stick it to them that way. I don't think they're on the Giants schedule. The Packers are, but I hear what you're saying about staying in New York City, still being part of that media market and showing the team that, plays in that same venue that he's still got it. But it's just hard to fathom that the Steelers have gotten themselves in this situation, although this was always the bleak alternative to not retaining Justin Fields as you start running down the list of names. And unless you can get really creative with a Matthew Stafford, which obviously didn't happen, then you were always going to be choosing from this pretty rough buffet of quarterback options in 2025.
Well, Brian, I mean, they were dating Justin Fields for almost a year, but they didn't want to put a ring on it. They didn't want to commit to a long-term deal, even if it was 2 years with Justin Fields, and tell him that you're going to be the starter. I mean, what other options were they? Why wouldn't the Steelers just tell Justin Fields, unless they really like Aaron Rodgers? Why would they not tell Fields? Like, why would they not give him that assurance? Do they love a quarterback in this year's draft class? Starkey loves Jackson Dart. He might be alone in that. At least he is on our show. But do the Steelers love him? Shedeur Sanders, will he fall? Well, I don't get why they didn't commit.
I do think regardless of whether they love one or not, if you run it back with Russell Wilson or you get into bed with Aaron Rodgers here, I think you've got to draft a quarterback higher than you would have if Justin Fields was your guy, because you need to start thinking about the bridge to the future now and at least taking another bite at the apple to try to find your long-term answer. Because it's fun. Like, I was looking back on this day of free agency a year ago, and it's actually pretty similar. The Steelers hadn't done a ton 2 days in. You could liken the DK trade to the Russ signing the night before. And then they went out and got Patrick Queen on whatever. I think it was Tuesday they did that.
Yeah.
And then later in the week, they got Deshaun. They signed the punter, Cam Johnston, early in the week. So they traded Deontay Johnson. That was a seismic move early this same week. But overall, Omar Khan hasn't been really any more or less aggressive, I guess. But we were all writing and saying, okay, the Russ experiment is kind of one last chance to keep this aging core together. Well, I guess one more chance, one more time now, because that's what they're doing again at the quarterback position. So I think regardless now, if you go with one of these 36 or 41-year-old guys, I wouldn't blame them. Probably still wouldn't want to take a quarterback in the first round with this class. Let's learn from the Kenny Pickett mistake, but I'd start thinking about it in the third round for sure.
It's really conflicting for me because at least for me personally, looking at all the quarterbacks that were in the playoffs, like outside of Jalen Hurts, second round draft pick, I think there were maybe one or two others. Russell Wilson was a third round pick. Who
Prescott,
yeah, Dak didn't even make the playoffs. Majority of the quarterbacks that you're going to find in the first round, and I think out of the 14 quarterbacks that were in the playoffs, I think the number was 9 or 10 that were selected in the top 10 or 12. I mean, that's where you're going to find your guy. And it's a tough spot to be in because I look at the 26 classes, the next quarterback class to try to strike. Because when you're talking Shedeur Sanders could fall to the second round, Jackson Dart might be moving up draft boards, maybe because of the combine performance and Sanders and Ward didn't participate, or because of desperation. Who knows? Seems like Ward's the only one that's been pretty stable in like the top 10. Maybe it is a 2022 Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis type of draft class, and you would be better off waiting a year, which is hard. I mean, like nobody wants to have patience. Like we are especially in a society with low attention spans, we are a now, figure it out type of society. We are. And I feel like we're kind of jumping the gun a little bit with how to find the next franchise quarterback because maybe that guy is just not available in this year's draft. And there are so many holes still on this team to fill. Maybe not that many, but corner, wide receiver still, defensive line. I would rather use that pick on those three positions, whether it be first round, third round, now that you don't have a second, so that your team is pretty much locked into place for when you draft that quarterback in 26. It's just a plug and play type of situation. You already have the weapons around them.
Yeah, I hear you. I think receivers less of a need now because of DK coming in, but it'll become a need again if they do send George Pickens packing.
Yeah.
But obviously, if they can get a day 2 pick for him, that would kind of take care of itself. All right, beyond the quarterback stuff, some of the lower level moves that I guess the Steelers have made. I don't really love the whole linebacker swap with Elandon Roberts out, Malik Harrison in. I think that was made official late last night when Roberts signed just a 1-year, $3 million deal with Vegas. Now, I guess that's kind of just the life you lead when you're a 30-something linebacker who plays the position the way he does. But, man, I think his value went beyond just the cold, hard numbers of age and special team snaps and all that. I thought he was a heart and soul type player for this defense, but they're going to get younger with Malik Harrison, and they're going to get a guy who's a little bit more versatile in terms of covering kicks and punts. What did you make of that little switcheroo by Omar Khan?
Yeah, and our guys Donnie Football and Jeff Hathorne did a weekly show with Elandon Roberts too, and
he was great for us in the locker room. He was always a good sounding board to go to for a quote or an insight too, because he had been on 2 Super Bowl winning teams with the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but alas.
Yeah, great personality. And, you think of the tooth chipper mentality. I think of the Dallas game in particular, the stop at the goal line, the forced fumble where, and Steelers recover that. There's a completely different story around Elandon Roberts.
Yeah.
And maybe just the different story that the fan base thinks of him too. Like, I think it's still positive, but Yeah, I didn't understand that. Like, obviously, Patrick Queen is still here on a big money contract. Expected Roberts and maybe Peyton Wilson to split more time. Maybe Wilson get more snaps than Roberts next year. They're bringing Cole Holcomb back. Mark Robinson's still in the fold. Why do you have to give $5 million to Malik Harrison that's going to be ultimately a backup at this point? I mean, if they like Cole Holcomb as much as they did a year and a half ago when he was playing.
Yeah, I guess it's more about, are you going to have Holcomb play special teams at this stage? Probably not, but
No.
I don't know. You also can't keep a guy around just for the warm and fuzzy feel-good story of him trying to rehab that injury. So I was a little surprised by that one for sure. And it seemed like Harrison, fine physical player for the Ravens, but I'm just not sure he's worth letting Elandon Roberts walk, because I liked Elandon Roberts. I thought he could still be a serviceable player and kind of keep that inside linebacker unit stable. But it's just so funny how, us on the outside, we spend all this time and energy devoting to what corners and what defensive linemen and what receivers are they going to sign. And then they go out and get an inside linebacker. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. Najee Harris off to the Chargers, and he's got an incentive-laden deal. I think this ends up working out pretty well for Najee. No, not necessarily financially at this point, but he's in a better situation for himself. He's on the West Coast where he's from. He's from the Bay Area. This is in LA. But who would you rather play with? Justin Herbert as your quarterback, or one of the guys that the Steelers are about to roll out there? So I think it's going to be a better fit for him. And he could potentially, not only cash out on the incentives in this deal, but get a bigger contract next year on the open market.
Yeah, and they've invested a lot in that offensive line.
Yeah, they have a really good one.
I was kind of surprised it was only a 1-year deal, because we knew what Najee wanted: multi-year contract, potentially some stability like Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, some of those other guys got. And I mean, if you are not one of those two individuals, maybe Derrick Henry, add on a couple other names, maybe that's just not the reality of the running back market, even though last year kind of reset it. Happy for Najee, a little bit surprised he got more than the $8 million. What would have been, what was the exact number for what the 5th-year option would have been?
Oh, I think it was 6.7.
Was it 6.7?
Yeah.
Okay.
His base salary is less than that. So you could argue that he would have preferred the Steelers pick up his option. But yeah, he can earn up to, I think it's 9.25 million with the Chargers. Probably betting on himself to some degree, considering he has hit 1,000 yards 4 straight seasons, in case you missed it.
And with Jim Harbaugh, that's an offense that likes to run the football first, even though they have a quarterback I think is top 5 in the AFC. Should be a good compliment to Justin Herbert. I'm curious to see how they utilize him out of the backfield as a receiver, and how he can catch the football. Because the first year with the Steelers, he did it really well. And they kind of went away from it in favor of Jaylen Warren for the last couple of years.
Yeah, that was always a little odd to me, but I think this was a very logical fit for both Najee Harris and the Chargers. He was somebody who I thought for sure he would make his way back out west once the Steelers declined that option. Wasn't sure if it would be Vegas or LA, and now he goes to LA. So, all right, let's just finish up with some loose ends here, Austin. Surprised at all that they haven't made a move on the D-line. We saw guys like Javon Hargrave get snapped up, Jonathan Allen, both by the Vikings.
Yeah.
The really big money guys like Milton Williams went to the Patriots. Devon Godshaw also got traded away from the Patriots. Maybe the Steelers are just really committed to rebuilding that depth through the draft, but I thought for sure they would have tried to replace Larry Ogunjobi after cutting him Monday afternoon.
Yeah, they cut Larry O, and they haven't cut Cordero Patterson yet, which is kind of surprising.
Maybe Arthur Smith's ultimatum is, if you're going to make me coach Russell Wilson again, I need my guy Cordero here for another season.
Yeah, need a couple more pitch outs in the fourth quarter to be able to put him in late. I am surprised. Like, I didn't expect Milton Williams here just because of what the contract was going to ensue. Yeah. But Keanu Benton hasn't taken a step up. Cam Hayward is not going to stay young forever. He's been playing. Seems like every year Cam Hayward gets older, he still plays at a consistently high level. Like, eventually, Father Time is going to catch up to him. And then we keep saying it, but eventually it's going to happen, and Cam keeps defying the odds. They're probably going to use that first-round pick on our defensive lineman. I've never been more convinced now that they have Metcalf.
Right.
If they trade Pickens, they could use that pick. Maybe a third they could get for him. I don't think a second, especially if Metcalf only fetched a second. So, yeah, surprised they haven't at least signed a depth piece at that spot. because even their depth has been tested. Like Dean
Dean
Lowry's
Lowry,
fine.
yeah, Montrevious
Loudermilk,
Adams. Yeah. Well,
they're
Loudermilk's
okay.
he's a free agent now, and I guess hey, maybe they're higher on DeMarvin Leal than any of us realize, but that seems far fetched.
Very far fetched considering they tried to play him at a little outside linebacker last year too.
And he's had so many injuries. They also haven't they haven't done anything to replace DeMonte Casey at safety, and I didn't think they would re-sign him. But this is once we get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here, I think the markets will kind of come into clear focus a little more, and then even next week too. I think the Steelers will bring back a guy like Ben Skoranek at wide receivers for special teams. Maybe they will make a depth signing at safety. I wonder if they would entertain bringing home DeMar Hamlin. I don't think he has signed anywhere yet, and I'm pretty sure he's a free agent.
Yeah, he is. And that would be fascinating as a potential depth option. This Darius Slay discussion that Jordan Schultz put out there, and I haven't really seen it confirmed by any other places, but Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports said that there was some interest there as well. If they can lock him up, because he's not officially a free agent until I think Wednesday at the same time he'll get cut as Rodgers officially. If they bring him in, like, first of all, could be a mentor for Joey Porter Jr. Second, good cover corner that played well in the Super Bowl champs last year. And third, it means they're going for it this year. They're going all out. If they're bringing in a guy that said, hey, I have like a year left, maybe two, and I want to compete to try to win and win in the playoffs, Darius Slay wouldn't be coming here if that wasn't the messaging, or at least he didn't believe it.
Yeah, I think that's just a formality. Like you said, he's going to be a post June 1 designation for the Eagles, and then the Steelers will avoid that comp pick formula with him. So, I mean, we've reported that they've agreed to a deal, so I do believe that is happening. But yeah, I mean, that move just kind of it makes me feel like the Steelers' entire plan here is a little incoherent and nonsensical because some of the moves make you think Omar Khan's kicking the can down the road to 2026, as we talked about in the first half of the show. But then a move like signing Darius Slay makes you think, okay, they're taking another crack at that window, such as it is right now. So we're going to try to make sense of it and continue analyzing the rest of this week. And, we'll hear from Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin eventually. But right now, I'm just giving the Steelers first foray into 2025 free agency a little bit of a side eye is probably the way that I would put it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, we're not going to be able to give them a correct grade until we know the quarterback.
Sure.
I mean, if it's Rodgers, because Daniel Jones is gone, Fields is gone, Sam Darnold's gone, how much of an option were some of those guys? I mean, Jerry reported that once Justin Fields decided to test the market, it was either Rodgers or potentially Darnold. So, I mean, we'll see what I cannot believe, and it's leaving me literally speechless. I don't have the words for it. What is going on with Russell Wilson right now? You haven't heard a peep. It's been all quiet with Russell Wilson, like nothing. I mean, their only rumor has been maybe the Giants.
And I think the Titans were thrown out by somebody, but then like a crotchety old Titans reporter said there's no truth to that. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to be next for him. Hey, if he does come back here, I think he'd be on a pretty short leash. I do. I mean, I think it would be a situation where if he's struggling like he did at the end of last season, why continue to bang your head against the wall, pull the plug, turn it over to a rookie or whoever he ended up with? And
Skylar Thompson, the sky's the limit.
I don't know if I want to see that. But yeah, I hear you. All right. Well, hey, appreciate you joining me, Austin. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. I know you'll be locked into this stuff as well. And if you would like to plug or promote anything on your way out the door, now's the time.
You can follow me on Twitter at Austin R. Bechtold and 937 The Fan, Pumpin' Joe, middays on The Fan.
All right. Thanks, Austin. We'll see you, man.
Thanks,
Take care. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining us for another episode of Chipped Ham and Football here on the Post-Gazette YouTube channel. It was a fun discussion. And yeah, it's all a very fluid situation, of course. You guys are probably sick of hearing that. And, you want some moves to happen. I don't blame you. I think everybody does. But that's just that's the situation that the Steelers find themselves in and really have kind of put themselves in. And that's life in the NFL when you don't have a quarterback. Quick message from Goldberg, Persky, and White before we sign off. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. More than 40 years, the firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. So call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for a free consultation if you need them. We will talk to you again soon on the North Shore Drive, all the other shows from the Post-Gazette. Keep it here the rest of the week. Steelers free agency, more to come.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.